The opening bell after a 37th record high so far this year. Yesterday, now we see futures moving back up. They had been down this morning. Okay, S&P futures unchanged, but the arrow is green. Jess Menton, who normally is always wearing green. I mean, what is going on today?
I know, I decided to switch it up.
Jess covers stocks for BN, and we count on you for direction here. It looks like this morning we were going to come down, and now I guess the inflation print has moved us up a little?
Right. So especially if you look at super core inflation, because Fed Chair Powell, as well as other Fed officials, look at that very closely. So if you look at the month-over-month numbers, that still is in a negative territory, actually, for the second time in a row for the second straight month. And actually, it's the lowest it's been since September of 2021. And the reason they look at super core is because it takes out the noise when you're looking at, say, housing, because we know about a third of the weighting in CPI is geared towards shelter. So when you look at that and get a better gauge of what wages look like, you're starting to see it move in the direction that the Federal Reserve wants to see.
It's interesting to talk about inflation today. Of course, we're getting earnings very tied to the consumer,
right,
and it doesn't look so pretty yet. What do we know out of Pepsi in particular?
And that's important because that's something that Tom Barkin from the Federal Reserve talks about as far as watching price to mix. And the reason he watches that is what it means for the direction of inflation. And that's something that companies like PepsiCo and other beverage companies and consumer packaged good companies like Conagra was another one that reported today. Both of those companies saw different issues there, particularly with PepsiCo. It missed when it came to those revenue outlooks that are happening there. And so what happened was it started talking about, it's interesting, their CEO talked about how they're going to start pushing through more promotions. And that's something that Jen Partashis over at Bloomberg Intelligence has talked a lot about. So say if we're going to the grocery store and you want to buy something for 50% off, or buy 2 for 1 and you get 1 for free, that's something that they've talked about that they're going to happen and that they're going to move forward with.
By the way, it's not really a beverage company anymore. I mean, the lion's share of their products, Pepsi, are food products, right?
Right.
It's a good point. It's a good point. We're hitting the consumer from all sides this morning through the lens of earnings, of course. We're talking about a food and a beverage company. We're also talking about earnings. Let's talk about Delta, its outlook missing estimates. It talked about driving ticket prices down, and that, of course, ties into what we learned from CPI this morning.
That's right. I mean, also, this is the first airliner that is going to report, and obviously we're going to have United next week and others as well. So if you're looking at that, it's actually capacity utilization that's been kind of an issue with trying to compete with the demand. If you're looking at the year-over-year period, so you're still seeing strong travel demand, and then you're also seeing, when it comes to the business side of that, picking up as well, but it's the capacity issue. And their CEO was talking about how it's about an issue of about 3 to 4% higher right now. And so they're trying to make some sort of regards as far as once they get to September, how to sort of mitigate some of those types of problems. But that's what you're seeing in the airline space. So if you're looking at Delta right now, at that stock, DLA is the ticker symbol, down almost 9% in pre-market trading. So you're starting to see that way on other, right. If you're looking at over at United, that's down 4.6% ahead of the opening bell.
Yeah, all the airlines, I noticed American is off, Southwest is off. So maybe in sympathy. Jess, thanks very much for joining us. Jess Menton from Bloomberg News. She covers stocks for us. We're talking about the consumer. We're talking